In certain parts of the UK there is a colloquial saying, "Why keep a dog and bark yourself?" And it's commonly used to suggest that there's no sense in doing a job if you can get someone else to do it for you. This is especially true if you can get someone else to do the job far better than you can do it, and this is the essence of the business model that we're talking about here. As you've already learned, there are millions of site and blog owners, online entrepreneurs and webmasters who need a never-ending flow of website content as well as other written materials such as email messages, articles, special reports and so on. However, what you may not be aware of is that there are also millions of people out there who are more than happy to provide these written materials at reasonable prices, and some very cheaply indeed. The business model that I'm introducing, therefore, focuses on the idea of you acting as a go-between, a middleman or broker who introduces the services of these writers to online business owners and webmasters who need a constant supply of content to keep their businesses afloat. At this point, there is one obvious question that you're probably asking yourself, so allow me to address it for you. If I know about this army of writers who are willing to provide their services at very cheap prices, and you now know about them too, is it not extremely likely that experienced online marketers and internet entrepreneurs are also in the know? If so, and the answer is they almost certainly do, perhaps you're now asking, well, why do these obviously smart online business owners, because they've got to be smart if they're successful, why don't they just simply approach these people themselves to cut out the middleman who they know will cost them money? Well, the answer to this question is remarkably simple and straightforward. It is an unfortunate fact that not all of these writers are particularly good at what they do, and a significant proportion of them, despite their protestations to the contrary, are not native English speakers or writers either. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with all of this, of course, but it does mean that the quality of written materials that a lot of freelance writers provide varies by a massive margin, ranging from extremely high quality work to stuff that is, quite honestly rubbish and totally worthless. Now, as an example, most experienced online marketers that I know have a sizable collection of horror stories about trying to use outsourced workers to help them build their business. And these stories range from myriad cases of broken promises and non-delivery to situations where people have provided supposedly unique work that was clearly copied or provided work that was totally incomprehensible. At the same time, every single one of these marketers knows that one of the most effective ways of growing their own business is to outsource as much of their work as humanly possible. No matter how hard they work every day, they understand that there's still a limit to what you can do personally in every 24-hour period. In effect, for as long as any online entrepreneur is trying to do everything on their own, their maximum earnings are always going to be limited. If, however, they start to outsource their work, they can potentially increase their profitability by 200, 300, maybe even 400% fairly quickly because they can farm out the time-consuming, tedious work, leaving them free to concentrate on the things that really matter, like making money. To give an example, there are plenty of places where it's possible to get a 500-word article that's perfectly adequate for a web page and you get it written for about $4. Writing this article might take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour depending on how much research is necessary, and if we therefore assume the best case scenario, you can do 2 articles in an hour and the total cost is going to be $8 per hour. However, if you use that hour to focus on marketing activities that brings in, say, $50, then your profit margin is obviously enormous. You spend $8 to make $50, so the profit margin there is $42, in other words, 525% of what you spend to get the articles written. It's a no-brainer, really. But this is what would happen in a perfect world, and unfortunately, as many marketers who try to outsource, they'll tell you that the world is often far from perfect. What happens in reality is that the article that's delivered is totally unusable without being rewritten 2 or 3 times, and even then, there's still no guarantee that the quality of the content will match what's required. So now you see two sides of the same coin, the opportunity and the problem. In truth, however, it's the problems that other marketers face when using outsourced workers that presents you with a genuine opportunity to make a lot of money online. If you establish a business that enables you to act as a filter instead of just being a passive middleman, you're in a position to provide something of great value to the marketer who would like to outsource his or her content requirements. Almost without exception, this individual will already have tried to outsource their content creation, and it's an unfortunate fact that only a very small handful of such people are likely to express anything approaching satisfaction. So if you set yourself up as a trusted go-between, a filter whose judgment, work ethic and honesty can be relied upon, then you're offering an extremely valuable service to the online marketing and business community. Furthermore, because there are literally millions of people running online businesses, the scope and breadth of the potential market for services of this nature is almost limitless. Thus, the amount of money that you can earn from a business that provides a service like this is also relatively unlimited. Now, there are other advantages to this business model as well. When you have your business established and you begin to attract customers, it's accepted business practice in the online marketing world for new customers to pay all of the fees that you're going to charge up front. Freelancers, or ghostwriters as they're often known, may also want the same, but even so, as you've already been paid, you're never out of pocket. Many clients who use your services are going to be extremely busy people, and it's therefore an important part of their business credo that they waste as little time as possible. After all, if this was not a basic premise of how they run their business, then outsourcing would have far less interest for them than it has. As a consequence, you'll probably find that most of your clients will order in bulk. In other words, they are more likely to order 100 articles every time instead of 5 or 10. And as long as you keep them happy, they'll keep coming back for more on a regular basis. Remember that as they are constantly building their site or sites, they have an insatiable need for a constant supply of content, and if therefore they find someone who can supply written materials of sufficient quality on time, every time, why would they want to go anywhere else? In the next video, I'll talk you through how you can find top quality ghostwriters for your business.